Welcome everybody to Making It Up. Today I'm going to be making a table. We're going to be using this lovely piece of ash we have here. I'm just going to make a basic little X table legs. So we're going to just cut all 4 pieces here for the legs. Finally get to use my handy dandy little stop block that I just installed in my miter station. Very helpful. Make sure everything's exactly the same size. Once we're done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and rip it down to the correct width. This is the first time I've cut this big of a piece of hardwood, so it surprised me a little bit of how difficult it was to cut. What I did here was I just measured basically the thinnest that I could make all these pieces, so that's why that piece barely had any to strip off. Figured I'd want my legs as wide as I could get them. Last and final leg. And this is called Making It Up. Here I stood up the table leg on my bench, leaned it against the wall, so I could measure it and make sure it was the right height. I'm sure this is how they teach you to do it. So, it's 27 1/4. It's about where I was going for the height of the table. So, good enough. Move on. So I'm going to be using a half lap joint on this. So what I'm doing right now is just marking the very center. Then using the width of the board, I'm going to go ahead and mark off the part I'm going to take out. This is the first time I've ever actually done a half lap joint, so bear with me. Use my little improvised sled here and just take out all that material. I did later on, when I was doing the other ones, understand why people left those little slivers in between. I started doing that, and it was a much quicker process. You think you left all that behind and it would take longer, but it chisels out pretty easily and quickly. So, and this is just me cleaning up that board, but as I said, the rest of them I had to do a little bit more chiseling, but the chiseling itself doesn't take very long. Alright, so that's nice and smooth. Go ahead and put the other leg on. Now if I did this right, it won't go on with my bare hands, which is looking like how it is. Here's my crutch. There we go. So, that's how it's going to look. Let me go ahead and find my hammer. There it is. Tap that right into place. Not too much pressure. Works well. And there we go. That is the basic of the leg there. Real easy, real simple. Until you didn't measure quite right. So they didn't quite align with one another. So I had to cut the half lap even bigger, so now there's a big gap there, in order to make them this, each one to be at 90s in the same degree. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take that one that I had to recut, and I'm going to go ahead and glue it up. And the reason why this other leg here is because I want to make sure they are exactly the same, and since there's a gap there and there's wiggle room now because of my previous mistake, I'm just going to attach it to this other leg to make sure they are exactly the same. There we go. Get it all wrapped up. Now here's the gap that was left because I had to increase the size or change basically where the half lap cut was. I'm just going to take this block here, I'm going to cut it out, and I'm just going to shove it in there. I'm not even going to try to match it. It's going to be on the inside of the table, so you probably won't see it, but if not, we'll call it a feature. I'll be like, oh yeah, it's supposed to look that way. That's what all the cool kids are doing. It's like an inlay. Like, people do those bow tie inlays. I do this giant block inlay. Of course, it didn't quite fit right, so now I'm shoving a shim in there. So this channel's called Making It Up for a reason. I don't know what I'm doing here. And the other side had a slight gap as well, so I had to just shove a bunch of... And these are a bunch of pieces that were just shaved off. So just use those. Use what I got. Go ahead and finish cutting that off. Beautiful. I did the same on the other side, but that took 6 days, so I'm not going to make you watch me cut that. Go ahead and sand it all up. So a blind person can't even tell the difference. Because they would touch it. They wouldn't use their eyes. Here we go. Off camera, I marked up where I'm going to put my little rectangle. Basically going to have a support beam going through. This is what I use. Drill my pilot hole to be able to stick my jigsaw in. I'm terrible with the jigsaw. I don't know if I don't have good blades or skills, but go ahead and cut that up. It kind of resembles a rectangle when I'm done with it. There we go. And this is going to be my middle support that goes between the legs. Go ahead and get that measured up. Get it cut. There we go. Next, we're going to cut the notch out. That's going to slide through the table leg and through the holes I just made. So go ahead using that same template I made earlier. Draw it on there. Man, I hold my pencil like a monster. Anyways, back to jigsaw. Can I just cut the notches out real quick? Here we go. And then to get a little bit off the sides, go ahead and use this router. I was too lazy to put a bigger bit on there, so this one was pretty small, so I was just wildly taking material out. And as you can see when I'm done, there's a lot of remaining left, so just chisel that all off, and there we go. Let's see if they fit. Oh, it fits. This is all a lie. This is like after 37 attempts of me to shave everything down a little bit to make it fit. It's the beauty of YouTube. We can all just pretend we did everything right the first time. Oh, look at that, it fits. And then it still probably needs to get fixed here. I'm just gonna see if the other side fits. And skip, where I had to fix it 17 more times. And this is what it's supposed to look like at the end. Beautiful. Nice and simple. So I'm not even going to make a tabletop because, I don't know, I don't want to. I actually have had this butcher block piece laying around for at least a few years, so I just decided I was going to use it for the tabletop. Let's go ahead and cut that out. Then I'm going to Give a little bevel to the edge. I'm going to use this router in both directions just to see if I can piss somebody off. And or I don't know what I'm doing with my life. See, I even left. I left my own YouTube video. Oh, I came back. Alright, there it is. Looks less like a butcher block, more like a tabletop. Went ahead and sanded those up off camera. It was not ridge there. So this is one of those mortising drill bits here. Yeah, it worked pretty well. You gotta put a lot of pressure onto it though, because you're basically chiseling. You're drilling and chiseling at the same time. So it's lots of fun. So yeah, it's also real stuck in there, so I had to hammer that off. But it did a good job. Now I'm gonna make so that hole is in the support, because when it sticks through, I'm gonna stick a pin through it to hold it in place. So I'm just cutting out the pins there. Apparently I decided to do a finishing coat before I stuck those pins in. there we go. Should have done it the other way. Yep, me just hitting it and it not moving. I wanted it shorter anyways, so there we go. Shorten that up. Totally not a little hanging part there. Totally fine. For the table legs, instead of like felt or something like that, I saw somebody put leather on theirs, so I thought that sounded pretty cool. So I went ahead and got some leather, cut it into strips. I'm putting contact cement on it here, and just obviously contact cement goes on both pieces, so I already applied it to the table leg. And go ahead and just roll it on. I figure that when I flip it over and put the tabletop on top, that'll allow the needed pressure. This is just a temporary roll it on, make sure it's on there pretty good. Flip this bad boy over and let's get my nice little figure 8 attachments in there. So I'm going to attach the tabletop. These allow for movement, and just make sure you don't tighten them too tight so movement can happen. And I didn't film it, but I attached to the table. There it is. And here we are, the final product. Thanks everybody. I appreciate you watching, and have a good one. Keep making it up.